So we're back and we're gonna mount.
What do you want to say? What do you want to do?
First task is gonna move the vise to this corner and make the room for the drill press in this corner. Drill. This is a heavy vise. If you've not seen my video on restoring this, I'll put the link in the description. That's another thing we have to get better at now, is to get better drill bits, because these are all old, they're all browned out, they're all dull. So I'll be on the hunt for new drill bits. What do you guys do with your key for your chuck? Where do you put it? I'm thinking of putting it on a magnet with like a lanyard so that it can hang and be tucked up out of the way. So I'm going to mount these first, and then I'll mark the back hole and repeat it. So when I realize these aren't the right screws, I will be getting some actual lag bolts to go through, but the stores are closed today. So I might just relocate that so we can use it to vacuum up the chips and stuff, like a central workshop vac, but for right now, I'll leave that. So then the idea is that we're going to mount this like here, and then we'll have a metal pan underneath there, like a garbage can, to collect the shavings and stuff. So this table has a wood top, but it also has metal supports underneath. So I'm going to use the metal cutting blade to get through those, and we'll just cut this off. Now just take this off, knock out these, and I'll place that on there, and that'll be a lower table for the drill press. this on here. So that's where that will live. Nice lower table. Next, I'll put the two supports across here and we'll mount the grinder. I'm going to cut two 2x4s to go in here. I just want a very small, narrow base so that any of the shavings can fall around it. I don't want a whole tabletop. So I'm going to cut two of these at 30 to span this distance. And then I'll build some kind of cleat frame and stuff like that, just so that it has something stable to mount the grinder wheels. Alright, so I've made a rudimentary shelf, 2x4s with a 2x4 edge, and now we're just going to place it between the two, make sure it's level, screw it in.
Go up more?
Yep. Good?
Yeah.
There we go. Done. I'll do wire management later. And there we are. I will screw this down, but I have to do it from underneath with some bolts. I don't have those yet.
1 hour later.
So welcome back. Just to give you a quick update of how the shop reorg with new tools is coming out. We now have solidified where we're going to put everything. And it's going to be the vise over there with the welder. We now have the drill press has been installed and mounted to the tabletop. So we've now moved the electrical from here to this spot. Run the wiring through a wiring loom to keep it nice. I'm now going to shorten this cable because it's really, really long. And I'm just going to plug it right into here. So it'll just be a short cable like that. And then the portaband gets plugged into here. The reason why I'm not going to be wire looming this section is because if we ever have to remove the portaband to take it with us or do something else, it's just a quick unplug from the wall. It'll use this secondary plug down here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So then I'll just take the plug off the existing wires. Like that. Like that. It'd be much easier to do this before I had everything installed on the wall. So now I'm just gonna have to reach and do that. So I'm gonna go do that and I'll come back to you when I'm done. And then make sure you get the same wires connected to the same poles on the plugs. Slide the cover back down, keyed so it only goes in one way. And plug it in. We're set up, we're good to go. The light's on. This works. So I'm very happy with that. That cleans up the wiring nicely. And there we go. So now I'll just show you a bit of how the portaband works. So for the portaband that has this footstep, what I'm going to do is I've taken it apart. I'm going to remove the screws out of the back. And then I'm going to mount it to this piece of board that I'll attach to the kick plate. So it'll sit like this when I remove these two screws. And then I'll mount it so that on the ground it'll be this way. And then when you push on it with your foot, it'll make sense when I show it to you. So let me just go ahead and do that now. I'm going to leave the two back grommets on as my height adjusters. I'll just take these two off, exposing the two holes that I'll use to screw it to this piece of wood. So then this will sit like that and give me the flush that I want and a place to drill and tap two small screws. All right, so here's the screws I'll use. Very narrow. They're a bit long, but they'll stick at the back, but that's fine. so they stick out the back, but it's on behind, I won't care. So let's just reassemble the kick plate, and that's very simple. The switch and the spring goes between this little punch out and the punch out down here. So once you line those up, then there's a rod with a spring clip on it on each side. And then that just goes through there. I need some more light in this area of the shop. There we go. If I didn't lose the spring clip, put it back on with my tool. Just like this. And there we are. So now I got a foot pedal mounted to the board, and let's just go down below and I'll show you the kick plate. So then down here, we're going to mount this just off the floor so we can sweep under it. But that gives us a spot to kick. So I'm just going to cut this to the length of the entire kick plate, cut it off with the bandsaw, I bet, and we'll go ahead and mount it. Alright, so cover your ears. This is going to be a bit loud because you're really close, and this is actually a pretty noisy machine. I will lower the volume a bit. So let's cut this now. So like that, I don't know if you can see that, like that. Nice and flush there. There we go. So now that way this will work is you just kick it. I might make a cover for the wiring just so that it doesn't get pressed on, or I might kind of feed it underneath just to hide it. We'll just snake the wire up and interrupt our portaband with it. So then this gets plugged into the wall, and then the portaband gets plugged into that. And now we've got our kick plate. All right, so here's a little test. Take some very thin material, kick it. Cuts it nice. Grind the edges nice, and then we could drill a hole in it if we wanted to. Then we could attach it here to our vise and weld up what we needed to do. And that concludes the part 2 of the shop reorg and new tool setup. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this content, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.